everybody. Tonight we begin with a prayer for peace. And I picked a melody that is the one that everybody says, Rabbi, why don't we do that one melody? Because I wanted us to feel connected tonight, not just to one another, but to generations. I wanted us to remember that we aren't here by ourselves, that each of us represents multitudes, and then each of us contains worlds. So we stand in the middle of what was and what will be. And I know for myself that this prayer for peace seems to be on my lips more now than it has been in a long time. So I invite you to share by raising your voices with Shabbat Shalom on page 343.
Shabbat Shalom Imroma, Shabbat Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Amen. Shabbat Shalom Imroma, Shabbat Shalom Aleinu. Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom Imroma, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
I'd like to invite Joyce Bowen to come forward to lead us in our candle lighting. You can follow along on pages 2 and 3. Amen. Thank you so much, Joyce. Let's continue welcoming Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi on pages 20 and 21. We'll join together in verses 1 to 6. No, I'm just kidding. 1, 2, 5, and 9.
I know the word. Lecha Dodi, Mikrat Kala, Pedei Shabbat, Mikabela, Lecha Dodi. emune am segula boi chala lecharani mikrat kala pene Shabbat kabela lecharani mikrat kala pene Shabbat kabela
We turn now to the people around us, friends and friends we have not yet met, with greetings of Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. How you doing?
All right.
Good. We paid for that AP test.
Huh? And how much was it?
Please be seated. I'd like to now invite Ian and William Stolniker, who will be celebrating their B'nai Mitzvah next week, to come forward to help lead us in our prayers.
You know, after next week, it's going to be the last time you can call us.
I know, yeah.
It's about time. You're like
Yeah.
16, right?
Diane can help you. Yeah. She's right. Let's continue on page 26.
Yikada v'yikada shmei rava Belmadi prakirte v'amlik malhute V'chaye chonu v'yomecha V'chaye dechol beit Yisrael Bagala bagala Uvizman kariv V'meru amen Yehi shmei rabba mevorach Le'olam lo me'amaya Yiparach v'yishtabach Yipar v'traman yimaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei d'kedusha brithu Le'lam mikol berhata v'shirata Tushbehata v'nehemata Damiram be'alma V'meru amen. Barhu, our call to worship is on page 28. Please rise.
There are additional English words on our handouts.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice?
it together on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakokavim, b'mishmeratechem barakia kirtzana, b'rei yom v'layla, golel or mibnei hoshech, v'hoshech mibnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, uma'avdil bein yom u'mevi layla, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yivloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
We read together on the bottom of page 33. Wisdom and wonder,
Passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We turn the page for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Page 36. Ve'havta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'dvarim ha'eleh asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom alavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'lechtecha b'derech u'b'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu l'totavot b'neinecha u'taftam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzotai v'yetem kedoshim Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'ol lahem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
we read responsibly on page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say Adonai. There is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory, may earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired
By
by
prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been a glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace, Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi Hamocha is on page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Lo ratei lo, Hoseh Melech. Lo ratei lo, Hoseh Melech. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Achutecha u'banecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'elianu le'ameru, Ze'elianu le'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Lo ratei lo, Hoseh Melech. Lo ratei lo, Hoseh Melech. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
When our children were younger, we used to say prayers every night before they went to sleep. We said Shema, and we said Hashkivenu. And Hashkivenu is a traditional prayer that's said before going to sleep. It asks God to protect our souls as we rest, to keep us under a canopy of peace. In Hebrew, it says that the shadow of God's wings will spread over us. Another time that we use that language is in the prayer El Malei Rachamim, which is said in memory of someone who's died at their funeral. It's a very strange thing, I think, to be asking for God's canopy of peace to spread over us when there's so much violence in our world. But I believe that there are people in our community who need this prayer tonight, more maybe than we have in the past year or two. I'd like to invite the educators who are here tonight to please stand. If you are a teacher, a school administrator, a librarian, a substitute teacher, a school tester extraordinaire teacher, if you've retired, please stand up. If you are a parent whose child attends elementary school or middle school or high school, please stand up. If you are a child who's attending school, please stand up. Each of you, each of us, needs an extra measure of strength, an extra measure of hope, and an extra measure of peace. So tonight, when we pray Hashkivenu, we will be holding all of you in our hearts and in our prayers, and making sure that we aren't just praying for God's canopy of peace to spread over us, but that we are working to make it happen. Thank you all. Hashkivenu can be found in our handouts.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrinu v'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrinu v'chayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrinu v'chayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrinu v'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrinu v'chayim.
The Shamru is on page 44.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam. B'nei u'lein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam. Yamim ha-Sinai, ha-Sinai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'navash, Shabbat v'navash, Shabbat v'navash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat u'lasot et ha-Shabbat לדורות הברית olam.
The Amidad's central prayer for our worship is on pages 46, 48, 50, and 52. Please rise.
Adonai,
Adonai,
Svatai tiftach,
Svatai Tiftach,
Gufi yagid, Tehilatecha Adonai. Open up my lips,
Open up my lips,
that my mouth may declare
that my mouth may declare
your praise.
your praise.
Adonai.
Adonai,
Svatai tiftach
Svatai Titah,
ufi agid
Ufiagid,
Tehilatecha.
Ilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei HaKol V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot U'mevii Yulah Mibnei Bneihem L'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Le'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Oshiach Morid Atah Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamoch Abal Giburot Uvidom Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzniach Yeshua V'neman ata l'chayot ha'o Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh ha'o Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kedoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. We continue on page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Page 57. Ever-present one,
May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve and reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, She'otah levadcha be'ira na'avod. Page 57.
9.
Page 59.
Oh, yeah, 59. God of goodness, we give thanks
For the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our life within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace is on page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Shalom, ki ata melech Adon, lecho ha-shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. B'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
We now pause for silent prayer.
Continue now with our prayer for healing. El na rafana le. The words are on the handouts that you received tonight. From our congregation, we share the names of many of our friends and loved ones: Joan Adler, Lenore Adler, Diane Adler, Sue Barish, James Berry, Josh Boswell, Frances Rose Cohn, John Deacons, Emily Diamond, Ted Dressman, Roberto Escobar, Bill Ellis, Ralph Gardner, Joyce Gardner, Rachel Helene, Marnie Goldman, Susan Hertz, Cheryl Kamish, Marshall Kramer, Helene Kramer, Sally Levy, Gail Levinton, Mary Meyerson, Leah Nicaron, Esther Nicaron, Father Lance Owsley, Tracy Patton, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Rabbi Marcia Prager, Mike Rawls, Joan Rich, Margot Seckler, Shirley Seckler, Richard Shaw, Debbie Simon, Ben Spitz, Dominic Thixton, Carmen Villarreal, Joshua Whipple. And to these names we add we hold all these people in our prayers as we raise our voices together.
El Narefanale, El Narefanale, El Narefanalanu, El Narefanale. Source of life, source of all, heal our bodies, heal our souls, source of comfort, source of strength, may we be whole. El Narefanale, El Narefanale, El Narefanalanu, El Narefanale. Heal our loved ones, heal our friends, pour out your spirit, bring peace without end. El Narefanale, El Narefanale, El Narefanalanu, El Narefanale, El Narefanale, El Narefanale.
May the source of all our blessings be a source of healing to all those people who are in need. Together we say,
Amen.
Amen. About 150 years ago, when the earliest American Reform rabbis were creating prayer books for the Reform Jewish Americans, they were, in my opinion, a little liberal with the white out, so to speak. They cut multiple prayers because, as they stated in their 1882 Declaration of Principles, also known as the Pittsburgh Platform, we maintain only such ceremonies as elevate and sanctify our lives, but reject all such as are not adapted to the views and habits of modern civilization. This meant that prayers that referenced a return to Zion were removed from the prayer book because these early Reform rabbis saw America as the Golden Medina, the new Zion. They removed prayers about priests and the ancient temple, and instead boldly called their places of worship temples, like Temple Sinai, implying that the longing for the rebuilding of the ancient temple can be replaced with our community temples. They also removed prayers that did not reflect their theology, with a special focus on what is called Deuteronomic theology. This theology is not just in Deuteronomy, but it takes up much of it. This theology can basically be summarized in 2 words: if, then. If you do X, then Y will happen. If you follow my commandments, then God will bless you. Deuteronomy intones over and over. And if you don't follow my commandments, watch out, because the curses are really, really bad. If then. This theology, as I said, is not just in Deuteronomy. It's actually front and center in this week's Torah portion, Bechukotai. If you follow my laws and observe my commandments, God tells us, there will be rain in its appropriate season. I will grant you peace, God says, and you will be fertile and multiply. I will establish my abode in your midst, God says, and I will be with you. That is what our Torah portion this week promises. It's what God promises. But the early Reform rabbis, if they could have cut the Torah, they would have cut these words. They reasoned, and reason and logic were the most important elements of their faith, that they'd never actually seen this theology unfold in their lifetimes. Jews obeyed the laws, they said, but they didn't face all of these blessings. Instead, they faced blood libels and pogroms and auto-defes. These rabbis did not know that in 70 years, Jews would face the Holocaust, but I'm sure that genocide would have just fit in with their position. God, they asserted, did not work in a way of if and then. The world, they said, did not work that way. Good people don't always get rewarded, and bad people don't always get punished. Sometimes the opposite happens. And the neat line connecting if and then just did not make sense, so they removed it from the prayer book. And when I was going through rabbinical school, I also rejected if-then theology. In fact, for most of my life, I rejected it. It made no sense to my lived experience. I read in a book recently, we might try to be good, rule-following people, but life has a way of introducing complete chaos into our lives, and that throws so much out the window. Life is chaotic. Injustice is real. Good people suffer. Bad people prevail. I never rejected God, but I was very comfortable rejecting that particular theology. Now, though, I'm not so sure. Now I look at our world, and I kind of feel like I'm a theological conspiracy theorist, pinning pictures on a big corkboard and connecting the dots with red string and saying, do you see? If we followed our commandments to love our neighbors, then there would not be bans on gay and transsexual people, but rather an effort to know and understand and accept and encourage differences. If we followed the commandments to feed the hungry, then there wouldn't be 11 million children who go to bed hungry every night. If we followed the commandments to live in balance with the land, then we may not be facing such extreme climate changes. Sometimes I think that we are living in such a complex if-then reality that it's a living Rube Goldberg machine. And when one domino falls, it sets off an unpredictable and inescapable chain of events. If we had only done X, then Y would not have happened. If X had been done, then Y and Z would have happened. And if Z and Y were reconciled, you know what I'm talking about. It just goes on and on. I think that there is a complex connection between everything we do and everything that happens. Maybe I'm not a theological conspiracy theorist, but a theological string theory person. It seems that the butterfly effect can be very real. And I think that if then is very relevant for our time. If we created sensible limitations on gun ownership, if we stopped asserting our religious views on others, if we held reverence for the land, if we saw all people created in God's image, if, so many ifs, so many possibilities, so many disappointments. 13 years ago, when I was installed as the rabbi here at Temple, my friend and colleague, Rabbi Andrea Goldstein, came down to Houston and told this story. A man wanted desperately to find God. So he went to his rabbi and said, "Rabbi, I want to find God. I want to know God, but I don't know what books to study or what to learn. Please, Rabbi, please teach me how to find God." The rabbi looked at this young man and sat in silence, thinking for some time. Finally, she said, "Dear one, there's no book to study if you want to know God. But I can teach you if you'd like. First, though, you need to go into the community and find a job that brings you joy. After you do that for a year, come back and we'll learn together." The young man, so very eager to find God, left the rabbi's study and in short time found a job working at the village's bakery. He worked there for a year and learned to love the early morning hours when the rest of the village was quiet. The practice of kneading dough until it was just right, the magic and alchemy of watching bread rise and then bake into deliciousness. And after a year passed, he went back to the rabbi. And he said, "Rabbi, I worked at a job that I love for a year. Now I'm ready to learn. How do you find God?" The rabbi smiled and said, "Dear one, your preparation for this study is not over. Now that you've found a job you love, you must build a home." The young man, still fueled with the desire to know God, looked around the village and found the perfect spot for his home. He saved up money, and on his days off, he would spend all of his time building this new house. And after a year, it was complete. 4 walls and a door, windows and a fireplace that would warm everyone inside. So again, the young man went to the rabbi and made his case again. "Rabbi, it's been 1 more year. I've worked at a job I love. I've built a home. Please, Rabbi, please tell me how to find God." The rabbi smiled again and then said, "I am so sorry, dear one, but your preparation is not yet complete. Now you need to go and find a life partner. Create a family, and when you are done, come back and we'll get started." The man was more than a little disappointed, but he trusted the rabbi, so he kept his eyes open for his life partner. One day, he found that person, and the rabbi married them under a chuppah. The man became so busy with marriage and working in his magical bakery and feeding the people of the village and tending to his home and attending Shabbat services, and giving tzedakah, and then welcoming children. And many years passed before he returned to the rabbi again. But every day he would wake up and he would kiss his beloved. Every day he would make breakfast for his family and he'd hug his children before they ran off to school. Every day he'd go to work and he would knead dough and sell bread and make change and feed the hungry. Every day he would return home, maybe tend to his garden, maybe help his kids with homework, maybe share time with his partner in front of their warm fireplace. Shabbat he prayed, and his life passed this way for many, many years. Then when the man was old and gray-haired, he returned to the rabbi. Rabbi, he said, maybe you're disappointed that you haven't seen me over the past years. I used to come to you every year asking you to teach me how to find God, how to know God. I remember well, the rabbi said. And then she said, tell me, dear one, why did you stop coming? What have you learned? That's just it, Rabbi. I didn't study any great text or find the magical book that would tell me how to know God. Instead, I did what you told me to do. I worked, I loved, and I just lived. That's all. And what I learned, Rabbi, is that I did not need to look to find God. I realized that God was already there in the quiet sounds that rising dough makes, in my children's feet running on the floors of our home, in my beloved's hand fits so perfectly in mine. In every moment of every day, I found God if I just opened my eyes and opened my soul. Ah, said the rabbi, I see you've learned your lesson well. They smiled at one another, and the man walked home, and he knew that God was with him as he walked. So maybe we look at the world around us, and we're looking for God. Maybe we read the news and we feel angry or hopeless or fired up or exhausted or afraid. Maybe all of it at the same time. But if we start trying to manipulate God with our thoughts and prayers into taking some kind of supernatural action by following our commandments, we're looking in the wrong place. God doesn't intervene by striking down bad people or behaviors that you or I might detest. God intervenes not outside of us, but through us. So if we want to see a world that protects its children and not just fetuses, we need to create that world. If we want to see a world where war is a memory, we need to create that world. If we want to create a world where teenagers too young to buy alcohol are not able to buy assault rifles at all, then we need to build that world. If we want to see a world that is different than the one we are living in, then it's up to us to make it so. I admit that thought is more than a little daunting, but I know God. I have found God in my work, which has been terribly challenging and which I've deeply loved. I have found God in my amazing, somewhat different family, 3 precocious children, the wife of my dreams, an amazing husband as well. I found God in each of you, in the times when we've disagreed and the times when we lifted one another up. That is God. It's easy to throw in the towel, to plan a move to New Zealand, which I admit is on my list of possibilities for the future. But our Jewish faith calls us to do something more, to create the world that we want to see. If we believe that, if we truly believe that we can do that, then we can do just about anything we set our hearts and minds and spirits to. If we create it, then maybe everyone will know that God is not something to search for. God is something that is already with us as we do this holy work. We continue now in our prayers with Aleinu on pages 282, 284, and 287. I'd like to invite Max and Ben Solomon to come forward to open the ark doors. And as they do so, I'd like to invite everyone to please rise.
Shabeach Ladon Hakol, Vateikula Yosef Breshit, Shelo Samim Kigoye Haratzot, Velo Samanu Kamishpechot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem, Vegor Aleinu Kecho Amonam, Vanachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu Notech Shamayim V'Yosei Haaretz, U'Moshe V'Karov HaShamayim Ma'al, U'Shchinatu Zo, U'Shchinatu Zo, Begovei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Malkeinu Avazikoto, Kafyatu V'Torato, V'Ratayom, V'Ratayom, V'Hashivota, Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, B'Shamayim Imal, V'Haaretz, V'Haaretz, Mitachat, Einod, Einod, V'Ne'emar, V'Hayadonai, L'Melech al Kol Haaretz, Bayom Hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shemo, Echad.
Please be seated. When I die, page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We remember now at their yard site their anniversary of passing. Tim Clark, husband of Janet Clark. Florence Fink, sister of Diane Statham. Cheryl Fishman, sister of Debbie Simon. Lillian Hirsch, grandmother of Howard Neuwirth Hirsch. Geneva Jensen, mother of Mike Jensen. Donna Corus, mother of Todd Malinek. Joel Olner, husband of Karen Olner. Rose Zigland, grandmother of Gail Laurie. In the period of Shiva, we remember Dale Pollock, husband of Melanie Pollock, and we remember the victims of Uvalde and Buffalo. We also remember that's making it worse. We hold all of these people in our hearts as we turn to page 294 and rise as one community for Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, B'alma divrachu te v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Bagala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah v'vorach le'olam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tishbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God, who is our source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort all of us who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. Please be seated. We depend on one another in times of suffering, and we turn to one another as well in times of celebration. So representing all that our community is, I'd like to invite forward Deanna Solomon, who Did he? Yeah, okay, sorry. To make some greetings and announcements. So these actually are from last week.
Okay.
Yeah, so all you have to do is announce that one. Yeah.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're delighted you can be here tonight, and I'm especially like to welcome any new members and guests who are with us today. Mazel tov
You
to
don't
our...
have to say that one.
I don't have to. Okay. Please plan to attend our annual congregational meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday, June 1st at 7 p.m. The meeting will be on Zoom if you are unable to attend. We would appreciate you filling out a proxy. You can find the Zoom link and the proxy link in the weekly shofar. If you shared someone's name on Kaddish, please let their family know by sending them a Kaddish card. In addition, if you send a Mishabera, the healing prayer, for someone tonight, please feel free to send them a Mishabera card. Again, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Deanna. There's a glare for the husband there. But he clapped for you. Let's take a minute now and turn to page 299 and bless one another. Bless our children, bless our family, bless each other. I know, Grandpa, come on up.
Grandpa, get up
What,
here.
me? Look, you're so cute, Daddy.
His words that he wasn't part of, you said the kids.
Oh, I also, you know what, I find God in my dad being here. Also, I left my dad out of my sermon, and I'm so sorry, Daddy. I find God in, yes, in you too. Yes. So let's take a minute and bless our children first. Let's bless our sons. Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And we bless our daughters. Yisimech Elohim Kasari Kava Havaleah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And we bless all those we love. And even if you're not here with someone, reach a hand backwards, forwards, across an aisle. Make sure we are all joining together in blessing. Good. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and protect us all. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine on us, be gracious and kind to us all. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence be with each and every one of us, granting us a canopy of peace and filling our lives with purpose and love. Together we say, Amen. Amen and amen. Our closing song tonight is on page 353, another prayer for peace. Od Yavo Shalom. Peace will come to us. If we build it, it will come.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.